Hello and welcome to Love Always Self. I'm Shyra.
Hi, y'all. I'm Karista, and thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Love Always Self. We are always so glad to have you join us. And so, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yay! And for those of you watching this on YouTube, that's Webster. He's going to hang out with us today. This is my little puppy who I love.
Hopefully, we don't cut him out on the edits.
He may start barking if anyone comes home right now.
So, today we wanted to bring up the topic of conscious consumption and what that means and how we can create more awareness around the things that we bring into our life on a daily basis.
Mm, tell me more about it. What is it?
So I know that you and I both like Google search just because that's what we do, just to kind of see where or what pops up. And what it pertained to as far as the Google search was more about like economics and consumerism. But here I'm actually bringing this topic to the table in regards to what we put into our body on a regular basis. So more of a individual basis. Does that affect the greater whole? For sure. Yeah, absolutely. It can. But for today, we are, I wanted to bring up media and food and the different ways we are taking in energy and how we can become more conscious when we do so.
Ooh, yeah. I get into this conversation with quite a few people. I know that when I started my journey into, we'll throw it into spirituality, right? Um, I really took a step back from watching the news or, looking at a lot of negative material because I was more focused on myself and trying to like work with the negative thoughts that I was already that were so embedded in my brain to continue to think, right? Which changes the way your body performs and everything. And we've talked about that. So like I know I took a step back. Now, I want to say something about that because there's a lot of times where, it's misrepresented as you don't stay informed, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I've gotten that comment a few times. Well, you don't watch the news, so you don't really know what's going on in the world. And I'm like, no, that's not true. I know
It's
what's going on.
doing things a little differently than just
Right.
opening the deluge of all the
Ooh, the
negative
deluge.
headlines.
Nice. Nice. Agreed. Agreed. What are some of the ways that try to like pull back on the consumption of all that is?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely take a regular break, probably every few weeks from reading news articles. And sometimes I'll just see the headlines and that's enough. And so that keeps me informed without actually having to read all the, gory details or, get pulled into a certain type of rhetoric that may be more negatively geared. And, one of the things that I definitely do on a, continuous basis is to stay aware of my own energy. So when I'm feeling low, the last thing I want to do is go open and read about, wars and famine and pain and agony. And so that's when I take my break and I just focus on me and boosting my energy, connecting with nature and, you know, maybe even zoning out a little bit, just watching fun fictional TV.
Yeah. Oh, the fun fictional TV binges are amazing. It's either that or like HGTV. That's become
Yeah.
like my nightly. It literally only goes from HGTV to like full on sci-fi. So,
But even then, even on that fun fictional TV, there are times where if I do that too much, I actually start to feel gluttonous. And I don't
hmm,
have a better word for that, maybe sloth like, but really just like I just feel like I've had a really heavy meal and I'm just dragging. And so when I get to that point, I'll actually get up and try to do something creative or read or maybe you go out into the garden, sit by the pool, disconnect from that medium.
yeah, that's actually a really good idea. just taking a break from like all the tech that you're
Mhm.
surrounding yourself with. Yeah.
Absolutely, because that's the electricity is still energy that is affecting our bodies and our mental state too.
Yeah. I know that when we were doing some research on, this topic, there was this one thing that kind of came up about a trend along the lines of conscious consumption, and that this trend is really kind of like leading to more eco-friendly products,
Mhm, mhm.
which I thought was really cool to read that. And I was like, oh, let's get this conscious consumption trend going then. I like that.
Yes, yes. And so in regards to food, what we eat, we can this is a big topic, right? It can
Yeah.
be. It can spider into a whole bunch of different subtopics.
Yeah.
And just overall in the individual form of conscious consumption, food related, we as a society have a tendency to do so, eating food unconsciously, whether that's having distractions, watching TV, watching sports balls, and you know, just not being in tune with the act of here is my food, like um, being involved with it.
Mm. Okay.
So one of the one of the things that sometimes I practice, I'm not saying I do this all the time, but taking a moment when I sit down to eat, taking consideration for where did this food come from? What journey did it experience to get to my plate? And thank you, food, for taking that journey and now nourishing me as I take you in, as I consume you.
Thanks. Yeah. So, which is kind of taking us back to the study done when you talk to water and or like play music or give it
Mhm,
positive thoughts or whatever. Because even if you don't say it out loud, it's still carrying.
mhm, mhm.
I do like that because I do feel like sometimes the food will treat your body better
Absolutely. You're
through doing that.
transmuting its negative or any negative experiences that it may have had. So whether it was a cow from a, large processing plant, or,
Yeah.
carrots from a ranch, or a farm or whatever, you're still like it had some trauma at some point. Right?
Yeah.
Being pulled out of the ground or whatever. And so
Oh.
by expressing that gratitude and taking a moment to just appreciate it, you are not only adjusting the energetics of the food, but also adjusting your own energetics to receive too.
And how you're processing it. Yeah, that's
At
a
least
really good
that's what I believe, and that's what I practice. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and then I think there's been some studies done on your thoughts affecting, the eco environment in your body and how it
Absolutely.
digests food.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even on the external, like we've seen those experiments where you have 2 different plants and you talk nicely to one and talk mean to another. And so you
Yeah.
are affecting the energetics of that plant life.
Don't talk
So
mean to your
why
plants.
not?
Yeah.
So why not extend that to the food that we're consuming and the water?
Yeah. I like the idea and just from like, previous channels, like seeing things from a perspective of different elements on our planet, or it being a being, the food itself, right? So like the carrot, it's a being, or
Mhm.
the leaf or the blade of grass, and seeing it from that perspective or experiencing it from that perspective, you know, do unto others as you've done for yourself and say thank you. Sorry for eating you. Um but
Well, one would argue that, everything knows its purpose.
it's very
Well,
true.
no, I argue that because we
Oh.
don't always either.
Oh, no, yeah, no, we're chilling with that part here, this human experience. We're still working on those things, right?
Contradicting myself. So another fascinating avenue of this conscious consumption is when we get cravings too.
Mm,
So cravings can indicate certain deficiencies of vitamins or minerals in our body. Not saying that we should go out and eat what we're craving, but look deeper into it. So, for example, if you're craving high sugar foods, then it's possible, or chocolate, it's possible that you might be a little bit low on magnesium, for example. And another way to address that deficiency is to have like a handful of nuts, and you can also have a little dark chocolate in there too, just to satiate that additional craving. And so that's going to help your body more than, say, a Kit Kat bar.
Yeah. Is- I will say this though, just to play devil's advocate with
Do it.
that thought process. There are times, in I would say, in a in a smaller quantity versus the gorging, right? But there are times where I have a craving, and per se, it's like a coffee flavored Haagen-Dazs ice cream. That's
Yeah.
my thing. That's my jam. And I feel like $1,000,000 after I have a couple of spoons of that, but it's like, it's assisting me with my mood, right? It's
Mhm,
like,
mhm. It's a comfort food.
it's a comfort food, right?
Mhm.
And so I can understand where, like, when you wanna kinda dive into, like, that moment, right? And you just have a few tastes of it, or
And that
indulge a
is
little. Yeah,
that can be consciously consuming that Haagen-Dazs ice
exactly.
cream. Absolutely. It's not saying that you can't, support some of the cravings. It's just picking and choosing consciously, knowing the side effects that it may have on your body and considering how you want to feel in the near future.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true, because you could, like, have a conscious moment of, "Oh, I want that beverage that's got alcohol in it," but then you have too much of it, and then the next morning you're feeling terrible.
Mhm. Mhm. And
Maybe that wasn't
we
subconscious.
didn't think about that.
Just saying. Understood.
Yeah.
Well,
So, finally, like one other way that we can think about conscious consumption is, as a society, how we regulate our serving sizes and how we provide for those that are underserved and have less access to these types of foods. So, this is another form of conscious consumption, because when we go to the restaurant and we're ordering, you know, 3 entrees and an appetizer and a salad and a dessert for 2 people, you're gonna have some leftovers, and what a waste to have to throw that away, rather than,
yeah.
maybe as an alternative, you take that home with you, you can have, you know, it again later, or giving it to somebody that's a homeless person on the side of the street. I mean, that's another conscious action that you can take with what you're consuming.
Yeah, and they actually have, foundations out
Mhm,
there that, support picking up, food that wasn't fully used for the day from restaurants,
mhm,
and those that are, and they support that to, like, different communities and
mhm,
deliver those to different communities. I've always loved that. I know of one here locally in Austin. I'm gonna link that down below. So if you guys are local and you want to participate in that or donate in any way, please feel free to do so, because I think it's important that we all understand the connection between each of us, and how we are here to really help support one another,
mhm,
and build upon the community and the environment that we're in. And by doing that, it's an extension of you, which means you can take a part in those things,
mhm,
uh, consciously. Mm.
mhm. And I think too, another way that you can become more conscious about your food that you're taking in is starting a garden,
Yeah,
because then you're truly like learning about its growth from seed to harvest to being on your plate. And there's so many opportunities, and this is something that I'm leaning into right now.
same.
Um there's just so many opportunities to prepare the dirt and love through like putting love towards the soil and everything that you're doing, from building the garden bed on towards planting the seeds. And I think that's just a really cool way to become more aware of and grateful
Yeah.
for where our food comes from.
And what a beautiful grounding experience too.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, we get it. It's hot where we are, so we
It's
understand.
it's like
But
you're giving back to the food and the food is in return giving back to you. So it's this like symbiotic cycle
oh
of
yeah.
like growth and giving. It's really, really cool. And you know what I just remembered is Heather from Prep to Your Door. We did an
Mhm.
interview with her a couple months back in May, and she had some really great insight on to conscious consumption through the community and supporting Mother Earth and our bellies with good whole organic food. So we'll link that below as well. You should check that out. She has a great site and a great product for the Central Texas area, which I believe was planning on being expanded to more areas within Texas.
Yeah. What a beautiful conversation too. Very
Mhm,
enlightening.
mhm.
Lots of aha moments. We recommend.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Well, my belly is growling,
Right?
so we're going to go take care of that little need. And we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Please don't forget to like and subscribe so that content keeps coming straight to you. And we hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
And don't forget to love first
Love last.
and love always.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, listener, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us in this moment. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and we look forward to our next connection.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow to stay notified of new content from Love Always Self. If you have any questions or topics you'd like for us to discuss, please hit us up on any of our social media platforms linked in the show notes below.
I'm Karista.
And I'm Shyra.
And until next time, remember to love first
Love last
and love always. Love Always Self podcast is meant for entertainment purposes only. We do not make any warranties about the completeness, reliability, and accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. Any action you choose to take upon the information in this podcast is strictly done so at your own risk, and we will not be held liable for any losses and damages in connection with the use of our podcast. Any and all medical concerns should be addressed with a licensed healthcare provider, as well as any questions that may be derived from the information discussed in this podcast.